Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today on a very sad moment for me, but a very poignant moment as well. This morning at 6:30, when I got up in my condominium in Washington, I lit a candle. And when I return there this evening, I'll relight that candle. And if you go on YouTube and look to light a candle for Kate Puzey, you'll understand why I lit that candle. Because 12 months ago today, March 11th of last year, Catherine Kate Puzey was murdered in Benin, Africa. 2 years of volunteer teaching in a school in Benin, and she was brutally murdered and her life was taken. I didn't know Kate Puzey in life, but I've come to know her well in death. When I read the article in the Atlanta newspaper about her death, I felt compelled to go to the funeral that day to a family I did not know, in a neighborhood I had not visited. And I sat at the back of the church, and I listened for 2 hours to the tributes of young person after young person after young person, minister after minister, teacher after teacher, Peace Corps volunteer after Peace Corps volunteer, talking about this wonderful woman of the world, this wonderful light to the world. Kate Puzey graduated at the top of her class in Cumming, Georgia, Forsyth County in high school. Went on to William and Mary College, graduated with distinction and honors. Was president of student government in high school, was everything you'd like to see in a young person. But she was not just a citizen of America, she was a citizen of the world. She cared about the less fortunate. She cared deeply about troubled children. And she committed her life to the Peace Corps immediately upon her graduation from college. And she was assigned to Benin in West Africa. Now, I'm on the Africa subcommittee and travel to Africa every year. Last year, I was in Rwanda, Tanzania, Sudan, and Darfur, Kenya. I understand the wonderful work of the Peace Corps volunteers in Africa. They're bringing hope out of despair, love out of tragedy, and that was Kate's mission in life. And to listen to those Peace Corps volunteers that served with her, and they came to visit me and tell me about her. She was a shining star for America. She was a shining star for the children of Benin and Africa. She was everything John Kennedy intended the Peace Corps to be around the world when he created it 49 years ago this month. Tragically, though, Kate was murdered. And she was brutally murdered at the hands of an alleged person who is pending trial in Benin now. A person that is alleged to have murdered her because Kate Puzey did what's right. You see, Kate, as a teacher in this school, learned that it was an individual that was sexually abusing young African children in Benin. Now, Benin is not like Washington. You don't pick up the phone and call the main desk and order something. You don't pick up a newspaper and read it. You don't just send an email because it doesn't exist. To communicate is very difficult. But Kate, at risk to herself, communicated back to the central office what she had learned was taking place in the abuse of these children. The next day, she was murdered at night in her hut. Now, the trial hasn't taken place yet. I'm never going to convict anybody until they've had their day of justice, but from all the evidence that's been seen, Kate Puzey died because she did what's right. And it caused me to think, when I met with her folks a few weeks ago and listened to their concerns about other young people around the world volunteering in the Peace Corps, that maybe there's something that we ought to do as a tribute to the sacrifice of Kate Puzey's life. And that is find a way to provide to these volunteers a protection like whistleblowers receive every day in government. You see, whistleblower protection protects those who would report something that's being done wrong, keep them from being abused, but Peace Corps people are not employees, they are volunteers. And I met with Aaron Williams not too long ago, the new director who's doing a wonderful job at the Peace Corps. And he agreed to meet with Kate's parents, Lois and Harry Puzey, who suggested to him some of the things that could be done as a tribute to Kate and hopefully preventing something like this from ever happening again. And I know Aaron Williams is looking at that, and I commend him for the investigation that he's doing. And Christopher Dodd from Connecticut in this body, a Peace Corps volunteer himself many years ago. Chris and I have met. He has some legislation coming soon on the Peace Corps, and I spoke to him about incorporating a protection similar to the whistleblower protections that government employees have for these volunteers that are in the Peace Corps. And immediately he seized on the idea, because he recognized what I know. Peace Corps volunteers aren't in the luxury spots around the world. They live in danger and with very little support. They live way out, but they live there because they want to help, they want to protect, they want to right the wrongs. When I travel to Africa every year, in every country I go, I invite Peace Corps volunteers for breakfast or lunch or dinner. And I'm always struck, first of all, it usually takes them a couple of days to get to me because they have to hitch rides or literally walk because there is no transportation. I realize how remote their service is, but I also realize how wonderfully received their service is received in the countries where they serve. We are blessed as a nation to have had a president who created the Peace Corps. We're blessed as a nation to have 7,600 Americans right now volunteering around the world, 155 of them from my home state of Georgia. But periodically, we face great tragedy. And a year ago, Kate Puzey's life was taken away from her and her family tragically. As sad as that tragedy is, we need to bring hope from that tragedy. From the despair that her family feels, we need to have a sense of love. And the best way to do it is to see to it that we pass legislation that protects or adds protection to Peace Corps volunteers for providing information that is critical to be known and protect them from retribution. And I will work with Chris Dodd on that as a tribute to Kate Puzey. And when I go home tonight, I'm going to relight that candle, a candle that pays tribute to the life and the love and the many successes of Kate Puzey. While taken from us at the age of 24, she has left with us a legacy of everything that's right with America, everything that's right with our youth, everything that's right with the Peace Corps, and that is to deliver the message of hope to people around the world who have no hope, promise to those who have despair, and hope for the future of mankind. Mr. President, I pay tribute to the life of Catherine Kate Puzey of Cumming, Georgia, and I yield the floor.